Hey, how's it going? My name's Brendan. Welcome to my first ever vinyl community video on YouTube. As you can probably tell, I've never made any YouTube videos before, and I've never even really had any experience talking in front of a camera to anonymous viewers who I've never met before. So we'll see how this whole thing goes, this little experiment. A little bit about myself. I'm from North Texas. I'm about to turn 22 this year. I think I've been collecting sounds since about 11 or 12, so going on 10 years now. As far as what I like to collect, pretty much everything. I think, as you'll hopefully see in this video, I have like a wide range of genres that I collect and that I'm interested in. And let's see, I obviously don't have any plans. There's no script here, I'm just running off the cuff. We might as well get started, I guess, with the video today. I think I did 15 favorite records from, let me rephrase that, one record from 15 of my favorite artists. And yeah, let's get started. This is just an alphabetical order. Start with the classic Beach Boys, Pet Sounds. This is a original stereo press. What to say about this? This is, in my opinion, just a flawless album. There's not one stinker on here. Every single song is at least like a 8 out of 10, and the ones that are 10s, they're amazing 10s. This album didn't used to really be my favorite. I'd heard it before a couple times, had it on CD, and something just clicked with it in the past couple months, maybe even to a year, where I just listen to this all the time. It's just really grown on me in the past year or so. So Pet Sounds by the Beach Boys. Next up, we got another classic. None of these are going to be any kind of deep cut, by the way. I mean, these are probably pretty obvious for a lot of you. The Beatles' White Album. This is just I think like late 70s to 80s press, purple capital labels. It's got the, all the good stuff, the posters, the photos. Real clean vinyl. Covers a little beat, but that's not what matters, right? Music. Obviously the Beatles, super well known group, to say the least, probably the most popular musical group in the whole world of all time. What can be said about them that has never been said before? But in terms of this being my favorite Beatles record, the reasoning for that, it's something about the aesthetic of that late 67 to 68 time period for them, their wardrobe, just the style of songs that they were writing, or I guess I should say the broad different styles of songs that they would write. There's everything from like folk to proto metal to weird animal ditties on here. What else can be said? Just a great album. Yet another classic here by the late great David Bowie, Low. This is a lot of Bowie fans' favorite, and for good reason. I mean, again, just probably a perfect 10 of an album. Not one single bad track on here. My favorites would probably have to be, let me look at the track list real quick. Probably have to say Speed of Life, Sound and Vision, obviously, New Career in a New Town, and Warsaw's on the back with Brian Eno's production. Fantastic. Next up, not as much of a classic for maybe some of you, but for those in the know, you'll understand why this is on here. This is brand new, The Devil and God Are Raging Inside Me. On the vinyl subreddit, reddit.com, Brand New was kind of, for a while there, like I think in 2015, one of the kind of popular bands to hate on, because They would always get posted all the time, and some guys just are not into quote unquote emo music. But this is one of those albums, just not a bad song on here. I suggest you give it a listen if you've never heard it before. I think this is from 2006 this came out, but this pressing 2014 or 15, I think, just standard black vinyl from Triple Crown Records. Great stuff. Next up, a little bit of jazz. The most popular jazz artist by far, Miles Davis. This is Bitches Brew. Again, what can be said that hasn't ever been said before? I bet I can think of something. Nope, can't do it. This is just amazing. Go listen. Yeah, it's fusion, but it's more than that, you know. It's not your typical you think of like 80s jazz fusion, kind of overproduced. This is a little bit psychedelic, actually, if you couldn't tell by the cover. It's got that kind of vibe. This is Davis going electric here. He's been electric, what year did this even come out? 70, 71, 72, somewhere around there. He had been electric for a couple of years, but this is one of his most well-known records, and for good reason. Fantastic. Moving on. Yet another classic. Dylan, bringing it all back home. Definitely my favorite Dylan record. Some flawless track listing here. If I had to pick a weak spot, I would say probably Outlaw Blues or On the Road Again on side A, but there's some classics on here. You can't really beat Maggie's Farm, Subterranean, Homesick Blues, obviously Mr. Tambourine Man, It's All Over Now Baby Blue, my personal favorite, It's Alright Ma, I'm Only Bleeding. This is a original 65 mono press, the 2Y stereo, or 2Y capital label. Good stuff. I mentioned him earlier. Here he is again, Brian Eno. This is Apollo Atmospheres and Soundtracks. Just my favorite ambient record ever made. This was, I believe the concept was like he was given access to NASA's film footage of the Apollo missions, and he wrote music around there. Kind of, it all has that floaty, atmospheric, almost dreamlike vibe of what I would imagine to be floating in space. If you had to listen to one song off here, it would definitely be the track An Ending, Ascent. I've definitely fallen asleep to this record, but that's definitely not a bad thing. This just has that kind of power. You'll be wide awake, just concentrate on this, and be taken to the moon. Fantastic. Next up, more of another modern record. This is Fleet Foxes' Helplessness Blues. Just the normal run-of-the-mill Sub Pop pressing, black vinyl, double LP. Their new album, it's very good. I would give it probably an 8 out of 10. This is definitely their best in my opinion. Flawless track listing. This is their peak of songwriting and musicianship in my opinion. Also, you can't beat the lineup with Jay Tillman playing the drums there and providing vocals. This is just some fantastic modern indie folk. Can't go wrong. Next up, Joy Division, Closer. I've heard this called Closer and Closer, but pretty sure it's Closer. This is an original UK press. Pretty sure anyway. If not original, it's very early. Comparing this to Unknown Pleasures, this one, Unknown Pleasures definitely has some classic songs on it. Obviously, Disorder, She's Lost Control, that kind of stuff. Those are fantastic. But I think this flows better as a coherent record. Obviously, that was their second and final. This is just deep and dark and fantastic post-punk. Check it out. Now the classic, more jazz, more trumpet. This is Lee Morgan, Search for the New Land. I don't think this is a very first press, but it's definitely an early, let me open it up real quick. It's definitely an early Blue Nut press in stereo. Cover's kind of beat up. I don't know if this is the Liberty, after the Liberty Records takeover or not. You can see, I don't think it has anything to do with Liberty, so who knows, but pretty sure this is a early stereo press. The title track, Search for the New Land, one of the best jazz tracks ever written, in my opinion. My humble opinion. It's kind of lengthy, yeah, but just in terms of composition, this is one of the best. Can't go wrong. I think there was a documentary that came out recently about Morgan, and the story around him and his wife. I think she, if I remember correctly, she ended up murdering him. Just kind of a strange and tragic tale. I haven't seen it yet, but I will definitely be wanting to check that out. Next up here, again, very well-known album, maybe not to some of the older guys, but people around my age definitely love it. This is Radiohead's Kid A. Definitely it was close between this and OK Computer, but I think for me personally, Kid A is their peak so far anyway. They continue to put out great music, obviously with last year's A Moon-Shaped Pool. I just kind of dig the more noodly electronic type stuff they do a lot of on this album. Everything in Its Right Place is one of their best songs, and it's one of their best album openers ever, and it's like a three-way tie for me between, and most other Radiohead fans, between this, OK Computer, and then Rainbows, with A Moon-Shaped Pool coming in very close behind that. Other great tracks. My personal favorite Radiohead track of all time, How to Disappear Completely. Just fantastic. They go more acoustic there, but there's still the electronic elements with what's that thing called? It's a little bit like it has like a French name, like I'm not gonna try to pronounce it. It's a crazy gosh, what is that thing? You know, the instrument goes ooh, and you play it with your hands without touching it. I'm embarrassing myself now. Anyway, next up, Smith's Queen is Dead. Out of their four, it's between this and Strange Ways for me, but you just cannot beat the track listing, maybe with the exception of Never Had No One Ever. Obviously The Queen is Dead, Frankly Mr. Shankly, I Know It's Over, Cemetery Gates, Big Mouth, Boy with a Thorn in His Side, Vicar in a Tutu, There's a Light That Never Goes Out, which is probably their most well-known song, and then Some Girls Bigger Than Others. Those are all great songs, in my opinion. This is the 2009 Rhino reissue. I never see any original Smith stuff near me, and when I do, it's always kind of beat up and a little overpriced, honestly, so I usually pass on them. But if you're looking for this record and you haven't found an original, definitely consider getting the Rhino reissues that are commonly available. They sound fantastic. It's great pressing, well mastered, no complaints. It's good stuff. Here's another one, Sufjan Stevens, Carrie & Lowell. For those in the know, this is his, I want to say 2015 album. He had this past month released a kind of collaborative thing with some of the guys from the National. It's called Planetarium. It's a little more ambitious, talking about the entire solar system. But this is definitely a personal album. That's his mother, and I believe his stepfather, and there's his mother again. Mostly just about him and his issues with mostly his mother, Look into his backstory there. It could honestly be made into a movie if anyone ever got around to it. And this is the version on clear vinyl. One of my favorite records of this past decade for sure. Just blows me away every time I listen to it. Both emotionally, musically, lyrically, everything is there. More 90s stuff. Weezer's Blue album on the Lo-Fi blue vinyl pressing. It's my cover got a little beat up in the mail there. Not a big deal. Again, it's the music that matters, right? Here's the blue vinyl. Look at that, that's awesome. This album, in terms of Weezer's discography, every single track would have its own place on any kind of greatest hits release that they came out with. Every single song, I mean, there's only 10. Every single song there is just a classic. My personal favorite, Only in Dreams, is the closer. Again, an 8-minute song. Next up, and I believe this is the last one, yep, Neil Young, Tonight's the Night. This is an original press on the textured sleeve, but it's early. It's on that glossy kind of normal gatefold sleeve. Vinyl's in great shape. None of the inserts are here. That's cool, I guess. I'm just happy to have the record. I love Neil Young, all his stuff. For me, it's between this, On the Beach, or probably After the Gold Rush. Cool. That's all I have to show. I just want to give a quick shout out to some of the members of the VC that inspired me to start trying to make some videos. We got Jeff over at J Party, the guys at the Psychedelic Experience record run. Who else? Baraka P Dub, love his videos. Some of the guys that do kind of a more modern approach. What's the channel's name? Too Many Records. That used to be Damn It Sandy, Matt with Too Many Records. Love your videos. Naz Nomad, David Michael, love your videos. Just, you know, I love watching VC videos. I like seeing what people pick up, looking for new music to check out. In terms of my videos coming up, probably later this month I'll be doing, I want to try to get into the kind of inbox type deal where I just kind of do it once a month to show off everything that I found. And then in between those, maybe a couple of videos a month, just kind of talking about my collection. If you guys have any thoughts on what you guys want to see, maybe talk about some of these books up here, these 45s, my setup in general, whatever you guys want to see, just let me know in the comments and I'll probably get around to making it. Well, thanks for watching, guys. Peace out.